Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Dave Doeren is entering year 9 at NC State, and excitement is so high as many believe this could be Doeren's best squad ever with the Wolfpack. NC State had a major bounce-back year in 2020. After going 4-8 in 2019, they flipped that record and went 8-4 just last year, including a 7-3 mark in ACC conference play. Excitement is high not just because of the momentum this team carries in, but because of the amount of returning starters they bring back from that 8-win season. The Wolfpack return 17 starters, and it starts on offense with 8 starters total coming back on that side of the ball, but namely their star quarterback in Devin Leary, who's going to be returning from a broken leg that he suffered just 5 games into the season. Leary was having a phenomenal year. Major part of the reason why NC State started the season so strong last year. 890 yards, 8 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions before his injury. He's back, along with Bam Knight, 788 yards and 10 touchdowns on the ground. Ricky Person Jr., 643 yards, 4 touchdowns on the ground. And his top 3 wide receivers, led by Emeka Emezi, who had 738 yards and 5 reception touchdowns in 2020. Tim Beck has done a phenomenal job, just revitalizing and recreating this offense at NC State. 30.2 points per game last year, 262.8 passing yards per game last year. With the amount of returning talent on the offensive side of the ball, their quarterback, their top 2 rushers, their top 3 wide receivers / pass catchers, there is no reason to believe that NC State should take a step back on offense. If anything, they're going to take a step forward. Defensively, the Wolfpack return 9 starters, and that's very encouraging because they need help on the defensive side of the ball. Tony Gibson has done a phenomenal job with the defense as well, but if there's any area of the team that needs improvement, it is the defense. They allowed 29.2 points per game last year, 415 yards per game last year. That's simply not going to cut it. But you look at the guys coming back. Payton Wilson is back at linebacker after leading the ACC with 108 tackles last year. Daniel Joseph is back along that defensive line, had 6.5 sacks last year. The team as a whole had 32. And the secondary, they had 10 interceptions last year. That ranked top 30 in the entire nation. The talent is there for Dave Doeren at NC State. Can they take advantage of it and have a historic season in 2021? Let's take a look at their schedule. They opened the year on September 2nd, a Thursday night game against South Florida, against USF. We're going to give them a win right off the bat. Jeff Scott, I believe, is a phenomenal head coach. I believe he will get the Bulls to a point where they can start contending for bowl berths. Maybe start contending a little bit more in the American Athletic. But that defense for South Florida is abysmal. 212.3 rushing yards per game allowed last year. They were allowing 39.9 points per game last year. NC State should literally run all over the Bulls in their season opener. They then get an intriguing matchup at Mississippi State, a Week 2 matchup, a Week 2 filled with so many marquee matchups. This could be one of the more underrated ones. You look at this game, guys, it's so tough to kind of pick a winner in this game because on paper you would say that NC State is the better team because you're looking at Mississippi State from last year and you're saying they were nothing. They beat LSU in that Week 1 shocker, and then after that fell off. Not necessarily. Mississippi State started 1-4. They finished the year 3-3. So they finished the year at 4-7 in year 1 under Mike Leach. But they only lost by 7 points to Georgia, only by 7 points to Ole Miss. They beat a solid Missouri team by 19, and then beat Tulsa, who took Cincinnati to the wire in the American Championship game, beat Tulsa by 2 in their bowl game. This Mississippi State team is quite the anomaly going into 2021. But the one thing I like about Mike Leach is that he finally has found his quarterback in Will Rogers or Jack Abraham, transferring in from Southern Miss. Either way, a guy he feels very comfortable and confident in. And you look at Mississippi State's defense too. Mississippi State's defense is a lot better than you think because of the way they finished 2020 and because of the great job that Zach Arnett is doing with the Bulldogs. That 3-3-5 scheme he brought over from San Diego State, it's working. It's coming together for a Mississippi State team that returns 8 starters on defense. The Wolfpack allowed 241.1 passing yards per game in 2020. If that secondary is not up to par, especially after facing a weak passing team in South Florida in Week 1, they're going to be in for a dogfight, a literal dogfight at Mississippi State. And we're going to go ahead and give the Bulldogs the win in Starkville, a very difficult place to play. We're giving them the win for Mike Leach in Week 2. NC State beats Furman in Week 3. They're 2-1, and we believe they lose to Clemson to round out September, as many people will. I don't know if anybody can beat Clemson in 2021, at least within the ACC. I did say in our Clemson video this has the potential to be a trap game for the Tigers. End of the month, it's on the road for Clemson. And NC State, again, they're very deep, they're very talented. And if their offense is clicking, they do have the offensive talent to match Clemson step for step over the course of the entire 4 quarters. But again, they have the offense to do that. It's a matter of whether or not their defense can string together a few turnovers, a few stops. Can they stop them? Can NC State stop Clemson? Because Clemson's defense can stop NC State. So again, if the Wolfpack are able to do that, if they're able to create a little pressure on DJ Uiagalelei, because again, Clemson's offensive line was a little suspect in 2020, they might be able to hang in this game for a full 4 quarters. But at the end of the day, Clemson has the better defense. They certainly, to me, on the offensive edge, despite not returning as many starters. I believe the Tigers come on the road and take down the Wolfpack. They then, right before their bye week, take on Louisiana Tech. This is a game that NC State cannot afford to overlook. It's one of those games where it's in a bad spot. Right before a bye, so you're anxious to get that week of rest. You're coming off a potential hangover to Clemson, whether it's a close loss or a blowout loss. Either way, you're probably going to be hungover. And you're facing a Skip Holtz-led team that is always ready and plays extremely well against Power 5 opponents. Louisiana Tech returns 10 starters on the defensive side of the ball. They have major quarterback questions. To me, that's going to be the downside and the downfall for the Bulldogs in this game. In a game that's closer than maybe people would expect, NC State does beat Louisiana Tech. They're 3-2 going into their bye week. They then take on Boston College straight out of the bye. Now, this is a game, guys, that to me is between 2 very even teams. When you look at returning production, when you look at the style of play, Boston College and NC State are very, very similar. And this game right here on October 16th could be really a battle for who finishes second in the ACC Atlantic Division. I believe the top 3 teams in this division are Clemson, North Carolina State, and Boston College. And this game right here could determine who finishes right behind the Tigers. When you look at Boston College, they return 18 starters. 18 starters. A lot of returning talent from a surprising team in 2020. Phil Jurkovec is back at quarterback. His top wide receiver returns in Zay Flowers. And they are going to absolutely test this North Carolina State passing defense. They are going to test this secondary. Mississippi State will do that. Clemson will do that. Boston College will do that as well. So they're going to absolutely test that. This is another game, too, where it's going to come down to defense because NC State and Boston College, both their defenses are mediocre at best. The offenses are really improving. So again, which team comes up with a stop here? In a game that could be back and forth, which one comes down to the final stop? Right now, I believe it's going to be the Eagles. Boston College has home field advantage, and like the Wolfpack, the Eagles are coming off a bye week into this game. They have a lot of excitement. They have a lot of momentum coming into 2021. Home field advantage and the week of rest, to me, is the deciding factor for giving Boston College this win. NC State starts a disappointing 3-3. To make matters worse, they're 3-4 with a loss at Miami. Now, a lot of people are going to hate to hear that. They're going to disagree with that. Look at the schedule, though. It's very difficult. Boston College could be a win. Mississippi State could be a win. After that, right now, so far, I don't know if there's up for much debate. We have them losing to Miami. They only lost to the Hurricanes 44-41 last year. And very similar to Boston College, maybe very similar to Clemson, if the Hurricanes don't fix their defense, it could be a similar shootout. A similar 44-41 type shootout that we saw last year where NC State nearly pulled off the upset. The thing is, Miami returns just about everybody offensively, and that starts with their dynamic quarterback in De'Aaron King. He's going to return fully healthy from an ACL injury. He's going to have Miami in the thick of ACC Coastal Division title. He's going to have them in that coastal race. He's going to have them playing potentially for a spot in the ACC championship game. Miami's offense is looking very, very good right now. The defense will get there in time. I believe the defense will be there by October 23rd. If NC State was getting this game earlier, I might say, hey, they have a chance. Could pull this one off. But at Miami, later on in the season, I got to go with the Hurricanes here. NC State drops to 3-4. This is where things get a little bit better, though, for the Wolfpack. If you look at their last little stretch of games here, Louisville, at Florida State, at Wake Forest, Syracuse, and North Carolina, things lighten up a little bit where they can start to string together a few wins. And it starts with Louisville here. For Louisville, again, it's really, for me, can their offense improve? Can their offense get consistent? Mikael Cunningham's not a bad quarterback, but he was wildly inconsistent last year. And now they lose Javian Hawkins. They lose Tutu Atwell. They lose Des Fitzpatrick. So where's the offense stand for Scott Satterfield? The Cardinals' defense actually had the best passing defense in the ACC last year, allowing just 189.2 passing yards per game. But they allowed 179.9 rushing yards per game. When I look at this game against Louisville, I think it's very similar to that of the game against USF in Week 1. This is a game where I think Devin Leary maybe takes a day off, continues to hand it off to Bam Knight, continues to hand it off to Ricky Person Jr., and the Wolfpack run over the Cardinals, and they get a win at home to snap a 2-game losing streak. They continue their winning streak at Florida State. They beat the Seminoles 38-22 last year, and I still wholeheartedly believe that the Wolfpack are in a better place than the Seminoles, even though this game is in Tallahassee. The Seminoles will improve. They will improve, especially on offense, with Jordan Travis or Mackenzie Milton under center. But their defense is their downfall. They allow 36 points per game, 257.1 passing yards per game, 456.3 total yards per game. The Seminoles only returned 5 starters on defense. Yes, I know they've grabbed a few transfers here and there. It's not going to be enough. And what many may say is a mini upset, NC State goes on the road, a very difficult place to play in Tallahassee, and they defeat Florida State, a team they beat by 16 last year. They then travel to Wake Forest. They beat the Demon Deacons 45-42 in 2020. Expected to be very similar in 2021. A back-and-forth contest, very high scoring, because I believe Wake Forest will have one of the best offenses in the ACC this season. But when I look at this, guys, I think this is a game where Dave Doeren gets what many could say is a signature win at Wake Forest, a team who could be a top 25 team at this point. They wake up, the defense gets a crucial stop against Sam Hartman and Jakari Robertson, and they beat Wake Forest on the road. They beat the Demon Deacons on the road. So back-to-back road wins, the very difficult thing to do. And I believe the Wolfpack start to hit their stride towards the end of the year. They begin to say, hey, if we want this to be a special year, we've got to start winning these games because every single one of those games is winnable. They get that win against Wake Forest. They get that win against Syracuse. They only beat them by 7 last year. Expected to change in 2021. Syracuse is a very, very bad team, and we're going to put it in light terms right now. They beat Syracuse, and then they play North Carolina in their season finale, the in-state rivalry game, a potential top 25 in-state rivalry game. And this is a game, guys, where North Carolina could be fighting for a spot in the ACC Championship, depending on how the rest of the Coastal goes, could still be fighting for a spot in the College Football Playoff, depending on how well Matt Brown's squad goes. Last year, UNC beat the Wolfpack by 27, 48-21. That was the Wolfpack's first game without Devin Leary, the first game after he broke his leg. Offense was in a bit of a disarray. UNC's was not. They took advantage of that. This year, expect the game against the Tar Heels to be a lot closer, but expect the winner to be the same. North Carolina will defeat North Carolina State on the Friday after Thanksgiving in the season finale. UNC's depth on defense is going to be the difference maker in this one, and by this point in the year, everybody's so concerned about North Carolina and how much they lost offensively, the offense will be clicking by the season finale, especially as long as Sam Howell is under center, and he will be. So having said that, North Carolina State, we have finishing 7-5, taking a minor step back in 2021. And again, the talent is there for this to be an 8, maybe 9-win team. The Boston College game is a possible win for the Wolfpack. Mississippi State is absolutely a winnable game for the Wolfpack. But after that, I believe that the rest is pretty cut and dry. I don't know if there's anything that's really up for debate unless you want to say there's more losses on this schedule for NC State, like a loss at Florida State, maybe a loss at Wake Forest. But 7-5, we believe, is just about right for Dave Doeren's squad. One of the best in his history, one of the best during his tenure maybe. The record, unfortunately, will not show it as the Wolfpack return to a mid-tier bowl game and can maybe capture yet another 8-win season if they can win that game. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at The Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, And make sure to check out everything down in the description below. Again, it's our 5-year anniversary here at the Gridiron Expert. So we've got so many exclusive offers, so much exclusive content for you, especially over on the gridironexpert.com, where you can buy our expert picks. Our expert picks, which have been some of the best in the country for the last 3 years. And in addition to that, because it's our 5th-year anniversary, you can now buy our expert NFL picks as well. We have packages and pricing, some of the best in the country, lowest in the country, over on our website. So make sure to go give those a look. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.